So, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Madals and this is game 1 of a best of 3. It's from DreamHack and yeah, it's gonna be some very... I was very bad then. I forgot to set up something which I really should have done. So I'm gonna have to start again, unfortunately. Sorry for that. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Madals and today I've got game number 1 of a best of 3. It's from DreamHack and it was in the group stages. It should be a very fun game to see what comes down in this series. And well, it's between two incredible players. Spawning up in the top position of Polar Knights as the red Zerg player representing Millennium, it's GosWser. And his opponent down in the south, it is the blue Zerg, representing Team Evil Geniuses, Jaedong. All fun times. Now, Jaedong, of course, very good player. So is GosWser, though, and I'm interested to see whether he can actually take a game off him. Jaedong, notoriously good, though, at ZvZ. Ridiculously good at it. At a point earlier in the year, he had a 90% win rate or something crazy in ZvZ, which is just insane. That's beyond the norm by such a huge amount. Like, pro players, typically, if they're sitting at like a 60-70% win rate, you're going to be sitting there going, wow, they're good. 90% though? What? That's crazy. Anyway, in terms of opening for the moment, nothing too much given away, no early pulls or anything like that, so we will not be encountering cheese for the moment. Generally, ZvZ has a couple of clear-cut phases. There's the basically mass speedling or zergling phase. That's counteracted by getting banelings out. Ling Bling phase then entails, and that's where you can get actually quite a long period of time of trades and a lot of intense micro. And then that basically gets nullified by some roaches coming out, some mutalisks coming out. Generally, nowadays we tend to see more Ling Bling mutalisk than we do going into Roach Hydra, just because of how prominent mutalisks are in the current meta. Now, opening for these two is very different. Jaedong opening up hatch first, then into a pool. Meanwhile, GosWser went pool first into the hatch. So GosWser playing this a little bit more safely. Economically, it's not terrible either because of the fact that he does have the spawning pool down early. He gets a queen out early and therefore gets a couple more lava a little earlier. So Jaedong, he gets the advantage that he'll get 2 queens out sooner, but it's not until a lot later that he starts seeing the economic benefits of going hatch first. There's also more risk because he can't get out any lings should he need them. But for the moment, GosWser just coming in. He hasn't actually scouted the natural base, so isn't aware of how Jaedong is opening as of yet. Sees the drone coming down though, but also sees the fact that the spawning pool was not yet finished. And by the fact that the spawn... Oh no, he didn't even scout the spawning pool. Okay, that's very interesting that he didn't scout that down. Suddenly unaware of what could be happening. Seeing the drone being transferred and assuming that meant that the hatchery was only going down then. So that's pretty cool. At least if that's how I'm reading into it, considering that the spawning pool was never confirmed to have been made. But the other thing that could throw some interesting things in there is the fact that neither gas were taken. So that could also indicate that if neither gas were taken, that'd be a very late point to be getting up that hatchery, considering GosWser's hatchery was already 3/4 done when he went for that pool first build. Gas is going in GosWser's favour. Jaedong still hasn't taken any at the moment. Meanwhile, GosWser's already started speed and is still mining a good amount of gas. So maybe going for some aggressive play. Getting those 3 drones, staying with those 3 drones mining gas means that you can transition into banelings very effectively. GosWser attempting to block this scout, unable to do so though, and that means Jaedong gets the scout, sees the spawning pool shimmering, and knows that 3 drones are still in there, suspects that there will now be some kind of baneling pressure being applied. Jaedong's response to that is, I'm going to drone. He can't do anything horrid yet, and actually, GosWser is not going to be going for those banelings. Instead, starting up a lair exceptionally early, as well as that second assimilator. If he keeps all of this, second extractor, assuming he keeps all of this going, then it could be a very fast Mutalisk style play. And as we can see from Jaedong, he's expecting banelings. He's got the queens forward, a spine crawler coming down, but he's still droning. He feels safe, and he knows that he's safe because of his vision due to these 2 overlords. He's got both potential exits out of GosWser's base monitored, and he's going to be keeping a very close eye on that to see when and if any Zerglings do come running across the map. These 2 queens that have come out, of course, Jaedong currently sitting at 4 queens rather than the 2 of GosWser will mean that he can take out one of those overlords, causing a small supply block for the Millennium player, and that supply block will have a knock-on effect in just lowering the drone count. And we can see already that really, Jaedong just sitting in a very comfortable spot now where he can say, okay, I'm up in workers by a decent chunk, or it's leveled out now, but this next wave puts him 8 ahead. I've got a good wall off at the front, so I'm safe if you are going for some aggression. But what Jaedong doesn't currently know is the spire is getting constructed, or that the lair was on its way. So this is where some stuff does get a little bit interesting, because he's getting down a roach run, and his lair is significantly later. That leaves a good option for GosWser to deal some good damage. The problem is, he's also vulnerable for a ground attack. Because he has basically nothing to defend within the ground, there's the option for Jaedong just to go for a big roach push. And if that's timed nicely, it does cause a lot of problems with only Mutalisks there to defend. Because while the Mutalisks are in low numbers, they just take too long to kill the roaches, and just a flat up engagement and attack can be so much more effective. But Jaedong may not do that. He's getting down a 3rd hatchery nice and early. This is a good normal time to get it. He scouted the GosWser is taking his own 3rd hatch, so is aware of everything that's coming down. Getting roach speed out. No Hydralisk Den as of yet. That would be advisable when he is going for these roaches, just in case there were some Mutalisks on their way. And there are 5 now in production, 6 getting started, and for the moment it's only roaches. The roach production though is ramping up. We've got a few more coming through. Jaedong sitting at 50 drones to the 46 of GosWser at the moment, and he's trying to get a good amount of scouting information. He sees both the roach warren and both evolution chambers on their way, so knows this can't be a roach play, and now spots the spire. That spire scout is so important. He now knows the Mutalisks are on the cards. How will Jaedong respond? It could be with some spore callers. That buys him some time, and that's what he really needs. It could be with aggression from the roaches. That also buys him more time, and it looks like it's going to be a combination of those points. 2 spore callers getting started. The queens are already out. They're going to try and help this, but it's the roaches pushing that could deal a lot of damage, since there isn't too much of a defense for GosWser at the moment. Jaedong though, he needs to make sure that he doesn't lose too many workers to the Mutalisks. The Mutalisks at the moment just picking up some overlords. In total, sitting there with 6, no more actually in production for the moment, and these roaches will take a long time to die to just a handful of Mutalisks. But what they can continue to do is apply pressure, buy a bit more time to get up a good defense. But interestingly, Jaedong opting not to get either a Spire or a Hydra Den at the moment, but rather just pump out a lot of Queens. Now, why does that work? Well, with the Spore Crawlers and the Queens, the Mutalisks will have a very tough time being aggressive. The Queens can transfuse the spores and each other to keep dealing the damage, and Mutalisks aren't very good at sniping those off quickly until they get into a very large number. What Jaedong will have a problem with, though, is being aggressive currently, because unless he can sneak some roaches through, which he is trying to do, he won't be able to actually deal much damage. But he is running straight through here, even though there was overlords in position, and he's going to try and deal a good amount of damage, and that's because all of GosWser's attention is currently on microing those mutas. So a few drones are now going to get taken down. Jaedong does have roach speed completed. GosWser about to get roach speed coming through, coming in with some ground units to defend this, and will force Jaedong to retreat. But Jaedong's microing, attempting to trade as most cost effectively as possible. He's managed to kill 4 workers this game so far, which isn't a crazy high amount, but it wasted a bit of mining time too as the drones were pulled. So that's fine. With this game relatively equal, GosWser slightly up in supply, and generally speaking, having some mutas out can be big, but there's only 6. Now it's just lots of roaches on both sides, and that's where the upgrade difference will become really important. And that upgraded difference is in Jaedong's favour. He's got 1-1 up against 1-0, or sorry, 1-1 now for GosWser, but his 2-2 upgrades are about 100 seconds ahead, plus. That's a 100 in-game second window of opportunity for Jaedong to have 2-2 up against 1-1. That's big. But GosWser doesn't want to allow that to happen. He's moving forward with his roaches. Jaedong, though, with a lot of queens able to transfuse. That's going to make him so much more cost effective in all of these trades. The roaches on both sides battling it out. The queens helping with a bit of additional DPS as well. Jaedong slightly down in terms of the roach count, but not by enough to make a difference. He's got the queens. Those transfuses help maintain the army, and GosWser coming off significantly worse in that trade. His Mutalisks as well have all been taken out. Every single one of them is now dead. And of course, with Jaedong sitting at an equal economy, the better, more cost-effective trades with the upgrade lead is going to be critical. The Queen's slowly moving forward, trying to pick off some of these overlords to maintain map control, make sure that really GosWser isn't aware of what his opponent is doing. And with all of that, we should see some cool stuff occurring. Now, GosWser, he's not completely out of it yet, because while we do see Jaedong ahead in supply, there's still the option with some good positioning that actually this will come off all well. The queens make a big difference for Jaedong though, and those queens are being sped over here by a creep highway generated by these overlords. High level play there, and with the transfuses of course from these queens, everything starts looking a lot more in Jaedong's favour, in addition to having that 2-2 upgrade over against 1-1. Jaedong pushing in here, trying to deal as much damage as possible, and as we see, the roaches of GosWser starting to crumble. The transfuses have all been used, but still just the Queen's added DPS, the roaches additional upgrade, really helping Jaedong to get into an amazing position here, and he is crushing through GosWser's army. Another transfuse goes down, reinforcing roaches taken out as they come in from the third base. GG is called, and Jaedong is victorious in this first game of a best of 3. So make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment and subscribe, and of course flick over to game number 2, and if you're on stream, stay tuned because the second game coming up